All right, BC, the red light's on. This is when most people get really nervous and want to bail. How are you feeling? Are you okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. Hey,
Feeling great.
awesome. Well, why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you tell my listeners who you are, what your name is, and what your project is?
My name is Bisi Adedokun. I'm the founder and CEO of Orokii. Orokii is a money remittance company. Was founded in 2021, and we launched our product to the market at the end of 2022.
Awesome.
Since then, we've been sending money on behalf of our customer to different countries, including most of the European countries, most countries in Latam, most countries in Africa, and some countries in Asia.
Wow. So, what is the starting point of this? Like, where does this idea kind of come from? How do you decide I'm going to go ahead and get into transferring money for people? Where did that story come from?
So it came out of a personal experience. During the COVID, it was challenging sending money to friends and family that you want to support. And I noticed that I wasn't the only one that was having those challenges. I talked to some friends and some family members, and they were having similar challenges.
Hmm.
And in some cases, when they were able to do it, the fees that they have to pay was also very high.
Hmm.
And prior to that time, I had gone to a 3 month blockchain training class at MIT.
Oh, cool.
And then I understand that you can use blockchain to do money remittance. You can use it to do a whole bunch of other things. And the money remittance was the one that actually jumped to me
Hmm.
and say, I can use blockchain to solve some of these challenges that we are having right now. So I started exploring that more, and that is how Roki was actually born. I say, okay, I can use blockchain to solve this problem, to address this problem. And one of the things that blockchain brings to the table, of the value that it adds, is it minimizes the intermediation that you have to have from sending money from point A to point B,
Hmm.
eliminating most of the corresponding banks, what we call corresponding banks, and then be able to do most of your transaction on the blockchain network, which is much, much faster and quicker. And then be able to now look for a partner that will do what we call the last mile terminator, that will terminate the transaction at the receiving end, that is at the beneficiary location. So with that, it enables you to now minimize or reduce your transaction fee significantly. Based on World Bank data, the average percentage of sending money from point A to point B is about 6.3 or 6.5% of the actual amount that you are sending. And the goal of the World Bank sustainability pledge was to reduce that to 3% by 2030 or so.
Wow.
So we are doing using blockchain to facilitate most of our transaction on our platform, and we've been able to eliminate all transaction fee altogether.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Walk let's pretend that my mom is listening. How would you describe sort of blockchain to her? Like maybe take that MIT course and dumb it down for like a 2 minute bite-sized nugget. Like how would you
Right.
describe
So
blockchain?
she can look at it as a ledger.
Okay.
I'm sure she's familiar with accounting ledger, where you record, any transaction that you have. I want to go and buy, household item today. I record it on the ledger. This is how much. This is what I want to buy. This is how much it's gonna cost me, and this is the date I'm buying this item. Right.
Hmm.
So on that ledger, maybe it's a ledger that everybody has access to in the household, and every time anyone wants to go and buy something, they make a record. They record what they want to buy on that ledger. So that ledger becomes more feasible to everybody that wants to do any kind of transaction in the house. You want to go and buy something, you receive something, you record it on that ledger.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is what blockchain is essentially is at a much higher, at a much larger scale. So we call it DLT, meaning that distributed ledger technology. That is what essentially it is. So it's
Hmm.
an open database network that has access, that give access and visibility to everyone that's doing transaction on that ledger. That also has a lot of inbuilt security component from a
Hmm.
cryptography standpoint, so that
Right.
most of the and the reason why they call it blockchain is because the each transaction is appended in block, right? And for the most part, it's a read-only ledger. Once you write something on it, it's very difficult to reverse it, right? It's not that it's impossible, but it is difficult,
Yeah.
right? So that's what blockchain is essentially.
And how does this and what Oroki does, how does it navigate sort of rules and regulations around transferring money? I got to imagine that healthy amount of regulations exist around this here in the United States, but how do you sort of navigate that and obviously make sure everything's on the up and up?
Right. So the first thing you need to do, so we are consider what they call money service, MSB, money service business,
Okay.
right? So what means is first and foremost, you need to register with FinCEN. So FinCEN is the FinCEN is Financial Crime Enforcement Network. It's
Hmm.
an agency under the Department of Treasury.
Okay.
So you have to register with them and indicate in which regions you want to operate. And once you register with FinCEN, now you are registered as an MSB, money service business.
Hmm.
Now you have to now go to each state in which you want to operate and get what we call money transmitter license, MTL.
Wow, that seems like a
That is the
big
one that is
task.
more challenging.
Yeah.
Registering with FinCEN is straightforward. It's very
Okay.
easy. Anyone can do that. But getting the MTL is the real challenge.
Wow.
The reason for that is every state have their different regulations and rules that you have to abide to, and there's no uniformity among the states. So
Hmm.
every state have different thing, different requirement, different schedule, different policy, different regulations, and navigating those different things is very, very challenging. And it could be very expensive too. There are
Right.
some states that are very expensive. You have to get what we call surety bond. You have to get an application. You have to go through a lot of due diligence. So
Wow.
it's very, very getting an MTL is very challenging. So
Wow. So how did you step into this? I think you at IBM at some point, I think I saw, but like how did you go from that to like what we're talking about right now? It feels like there's a little bit there's got to be a story in there or a journey at some point. What is this? How are you here? Why are you doing this?
yes, so I'm doing it because of my passion um, for financial inclusion,
Hmm.
right? So I was a candidate for a PhD program at University of Glasgow.
Hmm.
Yeah, and one of my projects was to look at financial inclusion and how that impacts the unbanked and the underbanked,
Yeah.
right, around the world. Yeah, so I have passion to ensure that people that do not have access to, they do not have formal access to the financial services are able to have access to that and be able to be included, and they are not totally excluded from the mainstream financial system. So, financial inclusion means that you have access to the same type of financial features that everyone else has access to at different level, of course. But
Hmm.
at least if someone wants to send money to you, you don't necessarily have to go through the process of having to have a bank account. There should be multiple options for you to be able to receive those payments. And those payments, you should be able to receive them without having to pay a significant amount of money that you're actually sending to the recipients.
Yeah.
So that is part of the inclusion to ensure that the unbanked and the underbanked can also participate in the mainstream financial system.
Hmm.
From my research, what you find out that most people that are unbanked, and majority of these folks are in what we now call frontier countries right now,
Okay.
developing countries. They call them frontier countries now. Yeah. So I find out that they don't have access to the mainstream financial services that you and I have access to. They cannot necessarily get loan. It's difficult for them to get credit.
Hmm.
And that's kind of impact their social mobility and economic mobility as well too. Because in some cases you might have a great idea and you want to sponsor something, but you need finance in some way to be able to make that happen. And
Right.
if you cannot get a loan or you don't have a way to actually support that initiative, it's become very difficult.
Sure.
So by giving them access to some of these financial services that we do have access to, that can alleviate that problem and also give them access to the financial system, the mainstream financial system in some fashion
Right.
that would bring more economic mobility to those individuals that are impacted, and then allow them to be part of the social economic fabric as well too, and give them more prosperous life.
Sure. Yeah. It's, man, it seems like super, super critical that they get into the ability to just move money, get a loan, all that sort of stuff. Is this something
Right.
similar? And I'm not sure if this is exactly spot on, but is this what also is happening with like a Walmart opening up like almost like their own banking system inside of it? It feels like it's for the unbanked. It's like you can go there and direct deposit. You can, you can get a debit card through Walmart, and you're like, wait, what? What is this? I mean, I only say that because something showed in the mail here one day, and I was like, "This is really interesting." Like is it somewhat of the same concept of just trying to get that debit card system or that banking system to somebody who can't go to the bank and get plugged in? Is it something in that same ballpark in terms of this
Yeah,
unbanked?
kind of similar, with some different twists depending on the location and the geographic location that you are.
Mm,
I'll give you an example. If we take Kenya, for instance, so there is this impasse. I don't know whether you've heard about the impasse in
mm,
Kenya, MPASSE.
okay.
It was started a couple of years ago, and today most over 60% of Kenyan financial transactions go through that channel.
Oh,
And what is unique about it is just using your mobile phone, you can do almost any financial transaction using the impasse application, right? So
mm,
people that are in rural banks, I mean rural areas that they don't have access to banks, or for them to be able to have access to a bank, right, they have to travel like 100 miles or even far beyond to be able to have access to a bank, right, from the
mm,
remote location that they are. Once they have this impasse application on their phone, they can do all kind of transactions. They can get money. They can use it to go and buy things in the market, and then exchange impasse with one each other, and then essentially using that digital currency to buy things and to be able to do things, right?
right,
So
right.
that is the kind of financial inclusion that we are talking about here,
Yeah,
right? So people that don't have necessarily have access, direct access to financial system can find a digital way or creative way to still be part of that and minimize the location issues and also minimize the fact that they don't have to have the former banking infrastructure or bank access to banking infrastructure to be able to do the kind of transaction that would enable them to do the things that they want to do,
right.
both from a commercial sense and also from an economic standpoint.
Yeah. What is the pushback tend? Well, I guess in these regions that we're talking about, what would the pushback be from government officials or bank regulations to not bank these people? What is the kind of the oppressor in this scenario that keeps people unbanked, like you're discussing right now?
It's normally what keep people on bank is has to do with one of the key thing is fees, right? When you go and bank with some of these banks, there is some minimum amount that you have to keep in your account, right?
Sure.
Some
Yeah.
of them say the fee that that they are being charged by this bank, and given the amount of money that they actually worth, it doesn't worth the trouble that they have to go
Yeah.
through,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So if I have $100 and the bank is charging me maybe $15 every month, and I can't keep up with that every month, then it doesn't worth it. So fee is number one um according to the what we call the World Bank Index database, right, which is published almost every year, every 2 years, they go and do a survey of all these. They do a huge survey across the world and then find out what is making people to become unbanked. As we speak today, there are over 1.4 billion people that are unbanked or underbanked in the world, right, worldwide today as we speak. And then they say what is actually making people to become unbanked or what or underbanked. I think one of the major reason is the fact that high fees, right? High fees, what they usually complain about. And another thing is the access to a banking location itself. If you go to some of these rural areas, you have to travel many miles to actually get to the next bank, right?
Mm.
So that's another issue that is making people underbanked. And there are
Yeah.
some other requirements like asking you to go and provide, government document, right? Maybe a driver's license, a passport. Not everybody has that.
Right.
And people that don't have that, and it's a requirement for the bank, become difficult for them to be able to produce those identification documents that will enable them to actually create an account or open an account. So
Yeah.
those are the three major issues that we find that people actually complain about that keep them from being able to open a formal account, and then they try to find another way around.
Yeah.
So fees, and if they want to get the loan, the fee that are actually being charged them is also very high in some cases. So they have to do what they call, you have to go to friends and family and say, if you loan me this X amount of money, I can give you this interest, every month on top of it as I pay you back.
Yeah.
So people find some creative way to go around the system to see
Mm.
how they can, function without a formal financial system.
Yeah. Are there sort of stats on what happens in a region when banking is more available? Like just what the growth is, the new businesses that pop up. Are there any sort of data or stats around something like that?
Yeah, there is data, depending on what you are looking for. Like I said, this World Bank Financial Inclusion Index is a document that is sponsored by the World Bank, and I think it's produced every year or every other year. It's a very comprehensive survey. So the World Bank actually they firm it out to some consulting firm to go and do the survey on their behalf, and they go to different parts of the world to do this survey, including the United States, including most of the developed nations as well too.
Hmm.
What we find out is even though in the United States, which is one of the most developed country on the surface of the planet, right,
Mhm.
there are still about 16% of 6% unbanked and about 16% underbanked people in the United States,
Yeah.
right? 6% unbanked and about 16% underbanked. If you look at the raw number of adults of the United Nations, people that are adult that are actually supposed to have a banking account, is significant. We are talking about over um, if you take 6% of the population of adults that are supposed to have this bank account but they do not, it's significant. The
It's
raw
huge.
number is significant, right? So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Um, what in sort of in your opinion here, you know, is it a benefit to be moving towards sort of a cashless society, right? That's kind of what we're talking about here too. It seems like,
Mhm,
we're not talking about holding dollar bills in our pocket in any of these regions,
mhm.
right? But we're talking about sort of moving this through blockchain. Do you think that that is a benefit, or we should still have some sort of physical, thing that we can hold in some of these regions?
Right. So I think the trend is having a cashless society eventually,
Yeah.
but having a physical currency also still has its place in the society, right?
Yeah.
Because the digital asset is not widely embraced yet, right? Even though we are trending towards that, right? That is the ultimate aim.
Hmm.
But that will eventually come when it becomes more pervasive and everybody have access to digital currency and digital money,
Yeah.
right? But right now, that is not the case. But
Mhm.
that is where the trend is. But there's still value in having cash, right? There are
Yep.
certain places where you need to go to, or you need to go and do transaction that cash becomes meaningful.
Yeah.
But having cashless also has its major, I think, its major advantage is it minimizes risk of theft,
Sure. Yeah.
means and then traceability. So if you do transaction with digital, it's traceable. You can exactly say, okay, you make this transaction at this so point in time, and we can trace it, right?
Yeah.
To give you that traceability capability, which cash does not. If you spend cash somewhere, you can there's no
Yeah.
traceability about it. Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, that might be an interesting pivot. Like, talk to me a little about, kind of how Oroki approaches security, just in general. Just like, what is the mindset of that, keeping everything secure?
right.
I got to imagine you're monitoring some degree of the cash flowing through this thing. So, how do you guys kind of handle security?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic, and it's topic that's very dear to me. I have a very strong security background
Mhm.
and from the bank. So when I was at Deutsche Bank, I was leading a security architecture group that is responsible for securing the bank infrastructure, right? Applications and design of the network and all that.
Yeah.
So, and I've done a lot of security work. So when I came to Oroki, I came with that same mindset, what we call the security mindset,
Hmm.
right? And one of the things that ensure on our platform is what we call security by design, right? So it's not an afterthought. We bake it right in,
Yep.
looking at all the things that we need to, providing what we call appropriate security control measures
Yeah.
to ensure that our data is secure at rest and also secure in transit. So those are the key things. And using high grade cryptography to secure those data assets, right? So that the measure is such that only people that are authorized to have access to the data can have access to those data, right? So people that are not supposed to have access to them will not, should not, and will not have access to them. We also implement what we call continuous monitoring. Continuous monitoring means continuously monitoring the platform for any kind of suspicious activity,
Mm.
right? And when a suspicious activity happens, we flag them and investigate them and then be able to be more proactive. So continuous monitoring enable us to be more proactive about what's going on our platform and being able to report them quickly and then act on them if there are anything that is suspicious that we have identified.
Hmm. Hmm. Man, that seems like a huge undertaking.
It is.
Just a
It is.
massive undertaking.
Yeah,
Uh, as
it
you're talking, I'm
definitely
like, oh
is.
my gosh, thinking about all the potential scenarios that just could exist, as well as
Mhm.
new threats happening. Right? Just okay, these are the old threats that we always have to be aware of, and then there's probably always some new crafty person coming up with something that we need to make sure we're aware of that. Whew.
Yep. Absolutely. You see, and more so when you are dealing with finance, right?
Yeah,
The fraudsters that want to cause you harm, they are constantly upping their own tricks, right?
yeah.
And you have to, they need to be successful only once. You need to keep them at bay 365 by 7, right? By 24. So you need to keep them at bay all
Yeah,
the time to ensure that they don't cause you any harm, right? So it's you have to be very vigilant and pay very close attention. So that is where continuous monitoring
yeah.
comes into play, constantly monitoring the environment and making sure that you can detect if anything happens, and once you detect when something happens, you can provide corrective action immediately.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. What talk to me a little bit as somebody like, and I don't know how many people do this. I have never sent money overseas. I've never had to do it, and it's just outside of or to a family member. What are like typical costs in something like this? I know you've mentioned it a couple times, but like for the layman out there who's never done it, like what are we looking at in the traditional way? Like what is that type of cost that we're looking at? Is there a percentage?
Which cost are you referring to? The cost of sending money or the cost of building an infrastructure like Oroki
Just
or
the
what?
cost of sending money. If I had to send money to, I guess, Africa or whatever, if I have a family member there, what is that cost to? I'm sure there's currency exchange rates or something like that, but just
Mhm.
in general, what am I looking at cost wise?
Right. So it depends on where you are sending the money to. Like for instance, in our case on Oroki platform, if you are sending money to anywhere that we do are able to deliver payment to, you don't have to pay any transaction fee.
Hmm,
Right? So we don't charge any fee. We make money through what we call FX margin. So if the whatever the mid market margin is, we put in a little bit of margin on top of that to be able to pay our bills and also be profitable.
sure.
So that is what we do. But generally, according to the World Bank, the cost of sending money from point A to point B is about 6.3 or 6.5% of the actual money. That's the average.
Yeah,
Right. So
that's a
that
good
is,
expense.
and so that means for every $100 that you are sending, the average fee that you have to pay is about $6 50
Huh,
cent, right? On average, it
yeah.
could be higher than that, it could be lower, but an average according to World Bank record, that's what it is.
Oof,
And the goals of the World Bank is to reduce that percentage to 3 by 2030 to make it more inclusive so that it's more affordable for people to be able to do those type of
yeah.
transaction. And if you look at how much money that is moved in a year around the world today, is close to over 800 billions, right? Money remittance around the world, and that is not even including B2B. This is all just P2P.
Wow,
Person peer to peer moving money around the globe is about 800 billion. That's a huge amount of money.
it's a lot of money. It's a
Yeah.
lot of ones and zeros going back and forth.
Yep.
what
Yeah.
what is sort of like a timeline or a time delay from sending this type of money? What like how does a Roki work, and then kind of where is that in the standard of stuff? Is it immediately? Is it 2 days, 10 days, 100 days? What does it look like on a time frame?
Right. So we work in two modes.
Mm,
When we have a blockchain, what we call a blockchain partner on the other side. That means we can terminate everything. We can run all the transaction on the blockchain, right? We don't need to do anything outside the blockchain. So in that case, it's almost instantaneously, right?
mm,
So you can do all the transaction on the blockchain. You can settle and then send the transaction to the person that we call receiving anchor, right? So a receiving anchor is someone you send the transaction to on the blockchain and eventually get the payment instruction and then deliver it to the beneficiary. And all those transactions can take place on the blockchain, and that could be in seconds, right?
wow.
In places where we don't have a blockchain partner to deliver, and that's a lot of places like that, we don't have blockchain partners to deliver that. So we have to do off chain. We do run everything on chain, but the actual delivery of the payment is done off chain. And
Mm,
then that's where we use our partner to do that. And the delivery speed has been um, it's been mixed. In some
mm,
cases, the payment is delivered in sub-seconds. It may be 3 seconds, 4 seconds. In some cases, it takes a couple of minutes. I'm seeing in some cases where it takes a couple of hours as well too.
oh,
So it's mixed. It all depends on a whole bunch of factors. It could be
interesting.
network. It could be
Right.
the bank network is down on the other side when they deliver the payment. It could be some other things within the infrastructure. It could be network related. But for the most part, our partner that we deal with, they've been able to deliver the payment in good time. Mostly, in most cases, like I said, in sub-second, couple of seconds or to few minutes.
Mm,
But in rare cases, in some exceptional cases, we've seen where the payment is not delivered until maybe a couple of hours later. But those are the exceptions.
right, right.
Yeah.
Uh, and is this something, again, this is my own ignorance, is this something that like is like a Western Union, right? They were always known for like transferring money, right? Or is
Mhm.
it a system similar to that, or are we apples and oranges? Like, is it somewhat similar to like a Western Union?
So we build our infrastructure on blockchain.
Hmm.
So Oroki is totally different from Western Union, MoneyGram, and some of its other payments companies that have been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
We are blockchain digital native, so to
Yeah.
speak, right?
Right. Right.
So we do everything on the blockchain. You have wallets, you send money
Mm.
to your wallet, and when we do domestic transfer, is instant because everything is settled on the blockchain.
Right.
So if you have the Oroki app right now and I need to send you money right now, it's instant. You get it almost instantaneously on your wallet.
Mm.
So I can do
And I
wallet
have
what
to
we
have the
call.
app too, right? We both have to have the app, so
Yes,
have
yes,
the app,
yes. In
right?
that case, both of us need to have the app. So what we call wallet to wallet transfer,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
So both of us need to have, but for cross-border transfer, you don't the recipient do not have to have the app. You
Mm.
just need how the recipient wants to receive the payment, whether through a wallet, whether through cash pickup or through a bank account, right? Or through phone mobile payment,
Right.
right?
Right.
So there are multiple payment methods that we support depending on the region or the country that is the recipient is.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. What what's the thing in your world that keeps you up at night? What is the one that like, hey, we've got to get this right to really grow Oroki and get into the just keep the
Yeah,
momentum going. What's keeping you up at night?
yeah. What keeps me at night is having the resources, the financial resources to scale the operation of the company,
Yeah.
and then driving our revenue growth so that our investors can we can create value for our investors, right? So that is one thing. The other thing that also keep me is ensuring that we know what our customer want and we're able to deliver that capability to them in a seamless fashion,
Yeah.
right? To make it frictionless so that when they are interacting with with our system, is totally frictionless.
Mm.
The other thing that keep me at night, right, awake at night is the continuous monitoring that I just mentioned to you,
The
right? We
security. Yeah.
want to ensure that we don't allow any uh, individual to use our platform for any kind of money laundering or
Yeah.
any kind of terrorist activity financing using our platform for terrorist activity financial. So we are we have zero tolerance for any
Sure.
kind of fraudulent activity on our platform, and we do a lot of checking. When you sign up on our platform, we do a lot of checking. That's why sometimes we get feedback that signing up on Oroki is a little bit, it takes a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to do that. Yeah, it's because we do a lot of background check
Right.
on
Right.
individual just to ensure that people that are coming to the platform actually have a purpose. They are coming there to do legitimate business, to
Yeah.
transact legitimate business. So, yeah.
What is the risk for like you or Oroki if something went wrong, money laundering or something, something happened and it was through your system? What does like risk look like in this type of work?
We could get flagged. We could be penalized by the state where we have licenses. If it becomes something that is continuously happening on the platform, some of our partners might decide they don't want to do business with us because we don't have a good internal control,
Mm.
right? So those are all the kind of things that could happen, and that's why, like I said, we have zero tolerance for people that want to do any kind of
Yeah.
totally zero tolerance. We rather not have them on our platform and trying to So when we find out that there is a pattern, we keep them at bay, and we've been now. We've
Yeah.
been very good at doing that, right?
Yeah.
So it could have multiple implications and also give you bad press as well too. If
Yeah.
you still start having that kind of situation on your platform, it could give you really bad press, and you could lose your licenses
I
as
would
well
imagine.
too. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. You mentioned a
Mhm.
little bit around just kind of, what's keeping you up at night about resources. What is
Mhm.
growth in this space? Like, what is like, well, I don't even know what is the potential market share. It seems like it could be through the roof, right? Just so with the amount of people we're talking about. So like, what does growth and resources mean for Roki?
So growth means we are able to do over 1 million transaction per month,
Okay.
right? Move money at least more than 1 million transaction per month. That would be growth for us,
Yeah.
right? And for us to be able to do that, we also need a good investment in that space in terms of capital investment, right? So because you need to do marketing campaign, you need to target your customer personnel, right? To be able to bring them on board to be able to do transaction. The money remittance market is a number game, right? The
Mhm.
more people you have that are doing transaction, the more revenue that you can drive. It's essentially a number game. You have to have a mass volume of people, a mass number of people, rather. You have to have a lot of people doing transaction on the platform to realize the kind of volume that we are talking about. So it's a number game. You have to have that critical mass of people doing transaction, regularly conducting transaction on the platform, and that is what growth look like
Okay.
for
Okay.
us.
Interesting. Do you have a sense of, and you might have some of this data already, of average amount of transactions per user? Meaning, hey, if we get a user, they're
Mhm.
going to do a million transactions, they're going to do 10 transactions, they're going to do one transaction to move. Like, do you have a sense of what that might look like?
Right. Our average today is about $300 average
Okay.
transaction that we see. Yeah. So we have some individual that send 5,000 in one transaction. We have some individual that send 1,000. We have individual that send 200.
Yeah.
Mostly the average is about, if you average them out, it's about $300 per transaction.
And do you see a frequency, like once somebody goes through this process of set it up, they consistently use it? They're always sending 300 bucks. They're
Yes,
all,
yes, yeah.
yeah. So
We've seen consistency in that sense. We see some people that use the app to send transaction to certain region at least twice in a week,
hmm,
right? At least twice in a week, and then constantly sending transaction to either to pay their employee or to do some things overseas. Yeah.
interesting, interesting.
Mhm.
It feels like to me too, just hearing this conversation and just knowing what I know about you, like trust has to be in almost all of your outreach, your marketing. Like you've got to instill trust in that user to use it, right? Like to set this all up, go through this process.
Right.
How do you guys approach just the overall tone of you can trust this, right? Like just there's trust in our app, our processes, our blockchain, whatever it is. Like, how do you kind of talk into that with users and make them feel that way?
Right. So trust in ensuring that when people use the app, they have a sense that through our onboarding process, you can start seeing that we have a more rigorous onboarding process, right? So that can tell you that, yeah, we are just not bringing anyone on the platform to do transaction, but we go through some due diligence, right? We do some due diligence on individual before we can start doing transaction on the platform. Because of that, that's enable some trust, and also we have been messaging that we security is of utmost importance to us to ensure that your financial data, your personal data are secure within our platform, right? So that
Hmm.
people that do not have reason to have access to that do not, should not, one will not have access to those data. So that is very important that we communicate that we provide a secure environment for you to transact your business.
Yeah.
And we haven't had any situation where, at least so far, where people come back and say our data is breached or people have access to our data when they're not supposed to have that.
Mm.
So I think the ability to be able to have that user experience to know that when they do transaction in our business is safe, is secure, and we can deliver their transfer to their recipient in a safe and secure manner is very important. And we do messaging on that, and we then get that across to our customers.
Mm. Interesting, interesting. So talk me a little bit about like what's the next year look like, and then maybe the next 5 years in your mind. What are you guys hoping for in this next year?
Right. So what we are hoping for is to significantly scale our operation, focus on some key markets like India,
Mm,
like Mexico, like Nigeria, like Haiti, and like some other countries in land. Focus on those regions
mhm,
specifically, and then be able to get more traction in those regions, and then be able to scale our operations so that we can get more customers on the platform doing transaction. There are two things to money remittances, right? Getting customer to sign up is one thing, but actually getting them to do transaction on the platform is the most important thing, because that's how you get a revenue, right?
Right.
So if you
Right.
have people on the platform and they are not doing transaction, that doesn't count.
Sure.
You have to bring him in and they have to do transaction on the platform. They have to be sending money. That is what really counts ultimately.
Yeah. Real quick on that. Walk me through what is that sort of mindset that you have around on like when somebody gets onboarded, those sort of gentle pushes or nudges to, hey,
Right.
make sure you do this. Hey, you should try to do this today. Like walk me
Right.
through how you think about that sort of gentle nudge.
Yeah, so we do that. When you sign up right now, we send you a letter and say thank you for signing up and all that. And
Mhm.
then we wait. If you don't do any transaction within 6 hours, we send you, we nudge you and say, hey, you signed up about 6 hours ago. We haven't seen you doing any transaction.
Yeah.
In 12 hours, we send you another email and say, hey, it's been 12 hours you sign up. We haven't seen you doing any transaction. And we try to incentivize our folks as well too in some fashion.
Mhm.
But now that we don't charge any fee anymore, we just try to nudge them and say, look, we you sign up, we have the one of the best FX rates to anywhere you want to send money to. So we nudge them to someone to send, and our marketing team do a follow up. In some cases, they actually call those people that have signed up but haven't done any transaction and say, hey, we know that you signed up on Orokii, but you haven't done any transaction. Is there any way we can help you, or is there any issues that you have fun, and try to talk them to do transaction on the platform. So we have multiple mechanisms that we nudge them to do
Right.
transaction on the platform. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, why don't we tell my listeners where should they go? They want to learn more. They've gotten to this part of the podcast. They want to know more. Where should we send people?
We should send them to orokii.com. That is where they find most information about us. They can also download our app. Our app is available on the Google Play App Store. You can just search for Orokii app and it should pop up. And also on Apple Store, you can also search for Orokii app there, and they can download the app from both stores. And we are the web application will be available in the next 2 weeks as well too, where you can actually do the same thing on the web. So you'll
Oh,
be
very
able
cool.
to sign up and then use the application on the web. And if we are currently using the app on the mobile app, you also you you can use the same credential that you use on the mobile app to do the same transaction on the web as well too.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be nice. Yeah, to roll that out.
Mhm.
Well, before we end, we usually end each one of these podcasts with some conversations, not about banking or not about anything that we just talked about.
Okay.
So here we go. What shows are you watching right now? Are you watching anything on TV that's caught your fancy? Anything that you like?
I've been watching some movie. I like documentaries, so I
Yeah.
watch a lot of documentaries, and sometimes I watch, you know, movies that are trending.
Uh-huh.
Oppenheimer is one that
Oh, okay.
I've been watching. Yeah,
Okay.
and
Is
yeah,
it on
so
something? Is
I
it
do
on a
watch.
Netflix or is it just a movie? Like what's it on?
Yeah, I do on either on Max or on Amazon Prime. So
Okay.
I watch. Yeah, I do
Okay.
watch on those two. Yeah.
Gotcha. How about books? Are you reading anything right now?
Yeah, I was reading the Obama book that I've been trying to read for some time that I didn't get to read. So I've been reading this book. I think The Audacity of Hope right here.
Oh, okay.
You can
Nice.
see it. So
Yeah.
I've been reading this.
Okay.
And also I was reading this a while back ago, While We Sleep, which is a very good book. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do we sleep? Well, I
Yeah,
don't sleep very
yeah,
much.
While We Sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
unlocking the power of sleep and dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a New York bestseller about anything that you want to know about sleep and all that. So it's a good book to read.
I wish I would love to sleep all the way through a night. That would be my oh man, if I could do
So you should pick up the book.
that, I might have to, man. Yeah, it's about 3 in the morning. I'm just laying there like, well, let's think
Mhm.
about something else. That's my world.
Yeah.
How about
Mhm.
podcasts? Do you listen to any podcasts?
Oh yeah, I listen to podcasts a lot. Whether I
Okay.
go to the gym, I go walking. Yeah, I do listen to podcast. I looked at New York Times Daily Show,
Mm,
the Daily,
yeah.
right? So I listen to that almost every morning.
Nice.
It's like a ritual. I listen to that almost every day. I look at the Washington Post reports. I listen to that. I listen to the Financial Times foreign affairs or
Okay.
something like that. I
Yep.
listen to that. I listen to most of the Financial Times podcasts as well too. Once in a while, I look at the comedy. I listen to the comedy podcast. That's the what is it that one now? Yeah, the John Stewart on show, the Daily Show.
Yep.
Yeah, I listen to that once in a while, but the one that I listen most to is the New York Times Daily,
Gotcha.
the Daily. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Last one is how about music? Do you listen? What kind of music are you into?
Oh, I listen to a lot of music. I like Bob Marley is one of my favorite
Oh,
artists of all time.
have you seen
So
them? Have you? Did you go see the movie?
I have not yet. My
Yeah. Either.
son just told me that Bob Marley movie just came out, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pretty into the biopics, like the Elton John one, the Freddie Mercury one, all these biopics. But yeah, wife and I want to go see the old Bob Marley one too. We've got
Yeah,
5 or
yeah, I
6 of
like
those
to see
records.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
read about it when they were filming it, when they were actually looking for actors.
hmm
Yeah, I read about it, and I didn't know it's gonna come out this early. So I'm glad
yeah,
that it finally came out. So I'll definitely go and see that movie. Yeah.
gotcha. Is it mostly reggae or is that the genre
Oh,
you're into?
no,
Like,
I'm a jazz fan. I listen to a lot of jazz, lot of jazz. I listen to jazz. Yeah, and also I listen to all genre of music, so to speak. But if you pick my favorite would be jazz. I listen to on the reggae side. I listen mostly to Bob Marley on the reggae side.
yeah,
But I also listen to rap. I listen to um, yeah, I listen to soul music. I listen to other genres of music. Some genres from Africa too. I listen to some music genre from Africa like juju, like boaba from Senegal, right?
ooh,
So there are some other genre of music that I
some
listen.
real
I
rhythmic.
love music, so I listen to a lot of music genres. I
What
love
would be
music.
your desert island like CD that you only can listen to this one CD for the rest of your life on a desert island?
Um, that would be if I were to pick. Yeah, that would be which one? Um,
Toughest question of the interview right here. This
yeah, I'm trying to figure out what would that be. Well, if I were to be in a desert island, I think Bob Marley would probably keep me going for a very
it
long
will, yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's one of those
so I'll
greatest hits
listen to
that has a
Bob
whole bunch,
Marley.
like 7 or 8 hits on it, and
Yeah,
just
exactly.
relax.
But there's this particular by who is this artist? Now I'm trying just George Benson. So there's just Benson track that I can listen to almost every hour of the day. Is what's the name of this? Let me see if I can find it. But it's a track on George Benson album that he produced. I think about in the late 19 in the middle 80s, maybe 83, 84 or something like
Okay.
that.
Hmm.
Very popular music, and yeah, I listen to that a lot. It's a music that I really, really love to listen to by George Benson.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah,
Well, BC, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, busy, busy schedule. I encourage everybody to go check out Orokii. Go to the app stores, download it, sign
yeah.
up.
It's Breezy. Breezy is the one that I wanted to mention.
Which was it?
Breezy by George Benson. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Breezy.
Nice,
Mhm, mhm.
nice. Well, everybody
Yeah.
check that song out too if you want to
Yeah.
hear what BC's listening to. All right, awesome, everybody. Well, again, like I said, go to the app stores, go to the website, download it, sign up, transact, move money. Right? Don't just sign up.
Mhm.
You gotta move some
Move
money the right
money. That's the
way.
right word. Move
Move that
money.
awesome.
Yeah.
BC, like I said, appreciate everything and good luck on the rest of the year. And we'll talk then. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you. Bye bye.